China will not be dominating the world. Does that make you feel better? Should it? How do I know that? Allow me to explain. All right, everybody, I'm in Bangkok right now. Sawadee Krab. But I came across this clip from this guy named Eric Lee. He's a successful businessman and political scientist, educated at Fudan University in China, Berkeley University, Stanford University in America, and he explains so nicely, so concisely why China is not going to dominate the world in the way that everybody thinks. And he gives reasons, and I'm gonna show you the clip. I'll break it down and give you my ABC perspective. Now, whether or not you think I'm an expert or not, I am an American-born Chinese. I got a navy blue passport, but this is something I've definitely thought a lot about. Hopefully this video is helpful.
We'll wager a bet today that in 25 years, when we return for the 50th anniversary of the Nesca conference, that
you're very welcome.
That China will not be dominating the world at that time.
Right, China will not dominate the world because it doesn't want to. By the way, Eric Lee, I think he has a pretty interesting voice. Let me try to do an impression. China is not going to dominate the world because simply it doesn't want to. I don't know, sorry, that was a bad impression. Shout out to Eric, but yeah, China doesn't want to dominate the world. This is gonna surprise a lot of people who are like, oh, China's like doing all this trade, China's trying to like take over. This is gonna surprise some people, but I don't think it is in China's goal and personality, and many people say this, to dominate the world in the way that America has. It's very, in my opinion, Western thinking to think about things in just a who's dominating, who's on top, everybody else is below. Now, I'm not gonna say that's a system that doesn't work, because a unipolar world, meaning that one country or one nation sits at the top of everybody, it does kind of simplify things, I'm not gonna lie, and that is a system that works, but that is not where the world is moving, and it's just, I don't think you can stop it, because America's declining and other countries are coming up and China's figuring things out, and basically the way it was 30, 40, 50 years ago, especially for my lifetime, it's just not gonna be that way moving forward. You think China looks at all the responsibility, all the debt that America's in, all the trouble that America has to go through, all the other nations and countries that American like organizations, whether it's like the CIA, it meddles in and then ends up becoming responsible for? You think China's looking at that like, oh yeah, we want that responsibility. Whatever America's doing, we wanna do the same thing. No, I'm pretty sure China uses America as an example, and China is in a convenient position to do this. China's looking at America as an example of what not to do, When you think about what America has done, which is great things, and I'm proud to be an American still, but China's like, no, we are not going to be making the same mistakes as America. No, we don't want to repeat that, because then we'll just end up like America. That's what I'm saying, trust me. China is in a beneficial position to look at America, the mistakes that they made, and been like, we don't want that. Trust me, or don't trust me, because who am I, but just trust me that China does not want to colonize the world like that. I know that's the word, that's the headline out there, China's colonizing, blah, 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 Africa. It's not like that. It's really not like that. You're just taking a word that the West made up, that's like meant for what the West did, and then you're just applying it to the next person in line who you think it applies to, but really there's so much more nuance there. What I'm saying is China almost, in a way, in my opinion, doesn't want the responsibility of dominating the world. All right, before I run that next clip, let me run into this Japanese mall Don Donkey and grab a little snack. I got a spicy chicken leg here. Let's run the next clip.
And I'll wager that bet for two reasons. One is because I don't believe China intends to dominate the world. And number two is, even if they did, they would fail at it. Because we've moved way past beyond the age of dominance. I think it'll be difficult for any one power to dominate the world. It's the wrong mindset.
So Eric just said that China, even if it tried to dominate, it couldn't, because it is now past the point of any one country running the world. Like I said earlier in my other point, a unipolar world is kind of what it was for a long time, but we're kind of past that point, and here's why. Because of interdependency. because all the countries rely on so many other countries right now. And other countries have came up. It used to be that the West, America, Britain, Australia, they were way, way beyond other countries in advancement, in society, all this stuff. But in the past 20, 30 years, it has changed a lot. And it's really nobody's single fault. And it's really nobody's, to any one single person's credit. There's so many factors that combine to the success of China. And, and I'm just focusing on China. Other countries have came up too. But basically what I'm saying is that no one country is dominating the world anymore. You got to go to EU for regulation. You got to go to China for manufacturing. America still has innovation on lock, but it will not even always be that way. Oh yeah, by the way, not to say crypto, decentralizing wealth and money and currency and stuff like that. That's just throwing a whole bunch of different factors into it that were not there a couple decades ago. When America was dominant, it had the best military, best tech, most power across the world, strongest dollar, strongest culture. But now everybody, social media, cryptocurrency, every country has nuclear, every country depends on every other country. It's just not that way anymore. And I just don't think we're even gonna see America dominate like it was before. Cup, 50 baht. But what I'm saying is, obviously, actually this has been said since 2009, and I want to give a shout out to my main man, my dog, my broski. I don't want to say broski, but my favorite world leader of all time, maybe, honestly, I love Obama, but Lee Kuan Yew might tie with him, man, in my book. So I'm rolling with Lee Kuan Yew on this one. Let's play the clip.
China wants time to grow. If there's going to be any conflict, let's postpone it for 50 years.
But inevitably, at some point, as China grows, it's going to want to be the dominant nation in the world because it'll have...
But it is not going back to Tang China or Han China, where they were the only dominant power in the world. This time, they're going back to a world where there are several dominant poles as inventive and more creative than them.
We're looking at a multipolar world.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll never go back to sort of the thing that we had between the Soviet Union and the United States.
No. There'll be the US, there'll be China. The Indians are going to be themselves. They're not going to be anybody's lackey. They may not be as big as China in GDP.
And you also suggest they've got to develop a manufacturing capacity.
Yes, of course.
In my lifetime, just in my career, peaceful rise has already happened. It's a fact on the ground. We went from a poor agrarian country to a behemoth that that is China today. Behemoth in every respect, okay? Yet, no country has been invaded, not a single shot fired, no violence. And if you look at human history, the rise of every power, from Athenian Empire to the Roman Empire to the British Empire to America's manifest destiny, to the rise of modern Germany and modern Japan, Ottoman Empire, every single one of them, their rise was accompanied by tremendous bloodshed, colonization, wars, massacres, okay? And China's rise to date has been bigger and faster than them all.
Oh my goodness, Eric Lee dropping bombs, not real bombs because that's not what Chinese people do. But he's saying with every other empire that rose, there was so much more bloodshed and war, and China's been able to rise by just, in my opinion, this is what he means, China's been able to rise by purely just adding value. Adding value, something that Chinese people do everywhere they go, they add value. I'm not saying Chinese people are the most popular. I'm not saying Chinese people influence everybody to want to become like them. I'm saying that Chinese people just show the value, and China has shown immense value to the world. So that's why their takeover or dominance doesn't have to involve dropping any sort of bombs or invading places or... Listen, there is definitely some threatening. I'm not gonna lie. There is some posturing. I'm not gonna lie. 1979, there was the whole Vietnam thing. But after that, really, China has only been hardest on its own people. Like, you know, if you want to talk about bloodshed, yeah, more people talk about the internal stuff that happened within China, less than the invasions. China does not invade. That's like I don't know. It's just not in the Chinese personality. I don't know if it's just not in the Chinese philosophy. It's just not within the Chinese culture to do that. Like, in general, China is just not the most violent place, to be honest. You know, if you ever go to China, you can't commit no crimes. There's cameras everywhere. If you throw the first punch in a fight, you are definitely going to jail, even if someone provokes you. You know what I mean? Like, the laws are very harsh. And Eric's point is really interesting. So, you know, again, am I an expert on this type of thing? I'm a passionate guy. I got a perspective. I care about both sides. But, you know, you tell me if this was helpful. What I'm trying to say is, when people think of the word dominance or think of another player taking America's spot in the game, they think that it's gonna be and do the things that America did. Everybody thinks that when there's a new superpower, they're gonna act like Britain did. When Britain was invading and colonizing everybody, everybody had to learn English, which is not a bad language, by the way, but I'm just saying it happened. So now there's not gonna be another power that can do that, and nor does China wanna act and behave like them. Everybody in the West thinks that when somebody else beats them, they're gonna act like them. That's the thing. That's what people cannot understand, that there are different philosophies in the world, and there are actually different ways to gain power and dominate. So America's like, man, if he wins this fight, it's like if America is in a MMA match, right? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I beat this guy by submission and a head kick, so he's gonna have to beat me by a submission and a head kick. I'm like, nah. Maybe they just beat you by points and they still win. So in a way, you can feel better about the fact that China doesn't think like America and thinks completely differently and will dominate. I don't even want to say dominate, but gain its power and influence very differently. So you can actually feel better about that. I'm just trying to make everybody feel better. I'm not even trying to stop it. I can't stop it because it's just gonna happen. If China shows so much value to the world and ends up gaining more power and more leverage in the world, then that is what it is. It's in a way deserved, but it just won't look like the way that the West dominated. So, will China dominate the world? I'm with Eric Lee on this one. No, China will not dominate the world. So hopefully that video was helpful. Hopefully it was entertaining. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Until next time, I'm traveling around Asia. Peace. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the comments down below.